I cannot believe that car cut me off. The world really is a mess, and society is falling apart.
You're always so focused on the negative, Dad.
What do you mean? I'm super positive. I am the most positive of the positives you can find.
See, here you go with that non-existing self-awareness. Dad, if I had to describe you with one symbol, it would be a minus. Definitely not a plus.
A minus? Boy, you keep talking to me like that. The only minus that's gonna be in this world is your bank account. Not even a zero. Minus. Minus is all you're gonna be seeing.
Alright, but I still think you should listen to what this guy has to say.
Son, I am tired of listening to other people. The last guy, that guy made no sense at all. If you're planning on...
Me.
Not this guy again.
It's me again. Today we're going to be talking about awareness. And with the theme of awareness, I wanted to cover information. How there's certain information that we are aware of and certain information that we are not. This time, I would much rather just do the talking during the episode, as I have tried to remake this intro about 100 times, and I will never ever be satisfied. So whether you're sitting, standing, running, or laying on your couch, thank you for being here, and happy listening. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this thing started with another awesome story. Or awesome in my opinion. There was a young man that was attending high school. He believed that the world had universal rules for things that were bad and things that were good. Some parts of his life were annoying and some parts of his life were enjoyable. Until a certain afternoon where he was sitting at school realizing that today he was especially irritated at everyone. His friends, the teachers, and even the lady in the cafeteria with her overly positive attitude. Like, geez, what's wrong with people? Whenever someone would ask him how he was doing, he thought to himself, what the hell does this annoying human want? And after this unfortunate day, some time passed, and a few days later, while buying lunch, he suddenly realized that the overly positive lunch lady was actually super nice to talk to, and she was no longer annoying. But how? He wondered. It was the same person, talked the same, walked the same, and even had the same clothes on. What changed for her not to be annoying anymore? This question sat with him for the rest of that school day. Followed by a heavy brainstorming session on the bus ride home, he looked around the bus at all the people there and eventually found the problem. It was him. He was the reasoning for being irritated at everyone on some days and not others. Who was this young man, you may be wondering? Well, that young man was me. And that was the first time I felt the effect of what is on the other side of not knowing what you do not know. The discovery led me to believe that all of that irritation came from within, and it had absolutely nothing to do with people around me. Something had happened that pissed me off, and I was using those emotions as bullets against other people. When I wasn't a pissed off teenager, I had no bullets to shoot, and aiming a gun at people with no bullets is pretty much useless. Meaning I had no reason to be annoyed at them as nothing was annoying me. Thus, the complete circle and the biggest aha, wow moment I can remember from my early days. It was a crucial moment for me when it comes to the concept of not knowing what you do not know, as discovering the difference between the inner and outer world greatly improved my life. I started wondering whether there are other things I should learn that make life more interesting, and whether there are certain things I currently know that make my life worse. The dance of knowing and not knowing. So let's take this concept for a spin, huh? First off the bat, how crazy is the whole thing really? For starters, there will always be information in the world that we do not know, and also information that we do not know that we do not know. Like, we don't know that we don't know certain things, if that makes any sense at all, meaning that we are all in permanent life FOMO. None of you know what that means. It means fear of missing out, but FOMO sounds so much cooler. There's a long list of interesting and challenging career paths, hobbies, books, people, and so much more. However, I quickly realized that no way, Jose, is there enough time for me to fully pursue everything that I am interested in, and as each day passes, our time here decreases. So it became pretty clear to me that I had to choose some general bubble to be in. I chose mankind. The way we speak, act, behave, and influence the world was a home run for me. It also made perfect sense. I had always been a people person, and as my passion for understanding myself grew during high school and onwards, it eventually expanded into a passion for understanding all of us and not just me. And that passion also grew to just a lifestyle. My brain now operates in a 24/7 observing mode of what is the effect of the way that person talks or the way that that person walks. That person moves his arms that way. Do people pay more attention or less attention? Or what's really going on there? Stuff like that happens to my brain all of the time, pretty much 24/7. So luckily, no life FOMO for me. I made peace with my direction and dedication to humans and took off like a SpaceX rocket. But what about the things I did not know a lot of? I will tell you right away. Don't you worry about that. I've never been good with money. I had a ton of bad habits and insanely stupid behavioral patterns when it came to managing money. I would spend it as soon as I got it. I would sometimes even spend it before I had it. I didn't prioritize saving or investing in the future, rather buying whatever my impulses told me and really just being a complete jackass. For a big period of my life, I did not think anything of it, as I didn't have a lot to compare to and to a certain degree thought this to be normal behavior, and that when money arrives, money shall also leave. Eventually, as I was growing up, I realized that this was far from the truth, and that I was the stupid one. Luckily, I had some friends who were really good with money, and they set the example for smart use, saving, investing, and in general just having more respect for the resource itself, allowing me to once again realize that we as humans have things we know and things we do not know. This might be common knowledge and quite obvious, but nevertheless still relevant to what we are going to talk about, as this does not apply to only money or only me. It applies to all of us and absolutely everything. I mean, think about it. During our lifetime so far, different people, establishments, and experiences have provided us with information that we now use to navigate through the world. If I were to go on the street right now and pick out two random people and analyze their life, big parts of their lives would probably be quite different. However, I do not believe that it is necessarily due to the fact that they chose so actively for their lives to be different. Rather, that all the information that they currently have only allows for a few select life paths and decisions about the future. Kinda like Lego bricks. If I only have 6 red bricks, there are only so many shapes and symbols that I can make. But if you were to give me 5 extra bricks that were blue and 7 extra bricks that were yellow and shaped differently than the red and blue ones, I could now suddenly build a huge number of new things. Kind of like my friends giving me Lego bricks allowed me to build a new relationship with money. They showed me things that I previously did not know. Basically saying that the relationship I had with money previously was built on 5 red Lego pieces, but my friends represented the blue and the yellow. Because I think that if people knew everything about the world, and I mean absolutely everything there is to know about humans, the weather, nature, math, physics, and so on, if they knew everything about the world, even though this is not possible, but if they did, I think that the decisions they would make in life and the direction they would choose would vastly change. That again might be super obvious, but it's something to at least consider when analyzing your own life. That if you were to gain some additional information about certain things and topics and people and hobbies, maybe your life path would change. And maybe you would actually like that change. Because I have done this plenty of times, sitting down and having a conversation with myself that goes something like this. Okay, Daniel, we're doing what we are doing and living the way we are living, making our daily choices, but where did that information for these choices actually come from? What made it so that we are living life the way that we are currently living? On what am I basing my direction in life? And whom did I get that information from? And then I also analyze the person that gave it to me and think, okay, did that person just randomly tell me that? Or did they have the intention of trying to guide me, to teach me something? And why are they trying to teach me it? Do they think it will be useful for me or just useful for them? Did they have the intention of just informing me with no agenda at all? I mean, who knows? But I found it extremely useful and I would recommend you at home to do the same. You don't have to, but it helped me out a lot. Because by doing this, I found that there's also another incredible side effect to this whole process. That by analyzing what you currently know, you almost by accident figure out what topics or parts of your life you have the least information on. For starters, it was clear to me that mine was money, like I mentioned before, but as I started to do further research into myself, I also found out other things that I wasn't so good at. Let me try to paint you a picture. Now, this won't be specifically about me, but just a general picture of what I'm trying to tell you. You sit in a room and think about 3 random things: animals, taxes, and relationships. You think, okay, I have 3 dogs. I know their exact breed. I know where they're from, which country, how that breed came to be. They're all super happy and energetic and healthy and well taken care of. When I think about my taxes, I always pay them on time. I always get the right amount. I even know a few little tricks that help me pay a little less tax than I have to, but still within the law so that I don't go to jail for tax fraud. Then you think about how you almost always fight when you talk with your parents. You cannot seem to find any middle ground and struggle to have a normal conversation. During your life, you've struggled to maintain a long-lasting and meaningful relationship with any romantic partners, and you lack a genuine bond with your current friends. Now, all of these thoughts may very well lead you to conclude that the information you currently have on dogs and taxes are pretty good, but what you know about relationships is complete trash. This could be traced to bad education or maybe just a negative role model. Whatever it is, there's usually only one thing left to do. And that is exactly what I did with my money problem. I would ask questions like, where do I need to go and what places do I need to be at? What actions do I need to take and who do I need to talk to and spend more time with? These are all questions I ask myself once I've concluded that the information I currently sit on regarding some part of my life or topic is trash. I simply throw out the trash and go shopping somewhere else for better information. Now, when it comes to shopping for new information, from experience, I've seen that there are some things that once you learn them, you can quite never get them out of your head. Now, let me tell you about one of the times this happened to me. It was during the end of my high school years when I was really into psychology and entering all sorts of rabbit holes and, starting to read some philosophy as well. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on different areas of psychology and read numerous articles and eventually tried to start creating my own observations from real life experience. And during this period, there was one book that I read that was quite interesting to me as it made me see humans from a perspective I had rarely thought of before. The book was called The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. He talked about when it would make sense from a genetic standpoint to sacrifice oneself to save another human life. I am talking about purely genetic. He didn't touch on any morals or modern ideas or circumstance, nothing else, just genetics. He even explained it quite mathematically, and the short version is this. I am 100% my genetics, so I would be listed as 1 on the genetic chart. My sister or my brother would then be 50% of those genetics. So genetically, it would not make sense for me to sacrifice my life for my brother's life because then more of my genes would die than survive. However, if I died in order to save 2 sisters or more, that would make sense, since then it would either be 100% or 150% that would survive. I do not remember the specifics of how this led me to believe what I am about to tell you, but somehow it did. It was the realization that it is impossible to do something without there being an aspect of personal gain, meaning that everything we do and say is to some degree for our own personal benefit. Now, as I mentioned, this messed me up for a while. It made me question human relationships, kindness, the true intentions of why people really do things. I started to have doubts about myself and whether I am even genuine with anything or anyone and all this kind of stuff. Like, it really messed up my thinking for a good few months, I think. And when I first started talking about this idea to other people, pretty much everyone disagreed with me, with a few exceptions. Some people actually thought it was quite interesting and that it's true as well. But those people that did not agree, whatever arguments they made or whatever examples they gave me, nothing could change my mind, even if I wanted it to change, because the idea messed up my head. I wanted to believe them. I wanted to kind of forget that I ever learned this. But nothing ever worked. Like, even arguments like donating to charity. Well, yeah, you still do it to be a good human or to feel good about yourself. So, personal gain. Examples like, yeah, but I helped my friend do their homework even if I didn't finish mine. Super sacrifice. That is super selfless. Would you do the same for some random guy on the street? Would you go up to them and say, hey there, I would like to do your homework today even though I will not finish mine? No one would do that. You do that with the hopes that your friend sees you as a better friend. And yes, some actions do not have immediate benefits for us, but we still do them in hopes of receiving some personal gain in the future. So eventually I kind of gave up. I didn't see any point in trying to argue it away, because no matter how hard I tried, whatever arguments I came up with, whatever new information I tried to discover, it always remained true for me, that whatever you do and say always has a touch of personal gain. Instead, I made peace with it and realized that in the big picture, it doesn't really mean that much. Regardless of the personal gain thing being true, I could still be nice to people. I could still impact the world in a positive way and make sure that I treat people fairly and help them if they are in need of help. The personal gain thing just became a way humans are designed, nothing else. And I, for sure, could not redesign humans, so it didn't really matter. So that was it. I realized that during my lifetime, there will be information that I will stumble upon that will be carried with me forever and change the way I see everything permanently, no matter how hard I try to argue it away or try to forget it. So the best thing to do is apply it in a way that makes life productive. For me personally, now if someone helps me with the idea of trying to feel like a good person, fine. What they did actually makes them a good person, so if they want to feel that way, more power to them. I'm not to stand in the way of why people do things. I just make sure I stay away from bad intentions. For the remaining part of this first episode, I would also quickly like to talk about not knowing something and how that could drastically change the way you see and interact with the world. We have all been in a situation where someone is acting like an asshole and it annoys the living shit out of us. We insult them in our heads and call them all sorts of names and judge them and all these shenanigans. And after a few hours of thinking about what an asshole they are, you finally build up the courage and ask them what is wrong. Then they tell you that their brother died last night and they are not acting like themselves because of it. Would you still think he is an asshole? Would you spend the coming hours still judging and insulting him in your head? Or would you maybe ask him if there's anything you could do for him and give him space and understanding? Now, in my eyes, if this particular situation were to go perfectly, this is what all of us should have done from the start. Assume that the person wasn't being an asshole just for fun, or because they decided to be that when they woke up today, but that there is probably another reason as to why this person is behaving like they are, and that we should see if we can find out why. If we can, super duper, then we do our best to support them and help them with what they need. If they do not tell us, we respect their privacy, and if they in fact just wanted to be an asshole for fun, we respectfully tell them that we do not accept this sort of behavior, and that being an asshole, if that is your hobby, then they can go and do that somewhere else in the world. I hope you enjoyed the first part of this 2-part journey, because the second part is also finished and just around the corner. For some final words before I leave you, what we know is the person we are and the world we live in. What we do not know is what we can become and the world we can discover. Looking at people around me with the idea that they know things that I do not, and I know things they do not, is incredibly fascinating and makes me excited to be alive. The unknown can be a beautiful place, and it can be a scary place. And that is exactly what I'm going to be diving into in the following episode. Ladies and gentlemen, see you in a few days. Peace and love. Brush your teeth.